Hello everyone, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we're returning to a game that we've spent a little bit of time away. We're actually in the middle of a Let's Play series looking at the Union campaign during the Civil War, and Ultimate General Civil War, that's the game. The game has been updated quite a bit since the last video that I've made. For example, if we go to the battle map here, we can see the intelligence service operates completely differently. It gives you an estimate army size in terms of actual manpower. Training percentages, armory percentages, so it all gives you an idea of like, oh, how well armed are the enemy, how well trained are they, how large are they. This is all new, or at least restructured. And that's kind of the biggest difference I've seen so far, but I know there have been quite a few patches that have come out, and the game is actually about to launch fully. So it is Ultimate General Civil War. That was really the focus of the channel for all of last winter and into the early part of this year. And I'm returning to it because, again, we're in the middle of a Let's Play, and I wanted to kind of branch out and do something a little bit different. We will be returning to Cold Waters shortly, but just kind of a bit of a diversion where I haven't had time to quite research as much as I would like to for Cold Waters. We have 2 corps that we've built out in our army. We have fully built out both corps, although we're limited to 1,500 men and 4 brigades per division. So as you increase your army organization traits, these are traits that you earn as you win battles, and you can see so far we've known nothing but success. But as you win battles, you get traits that you can increase your character's skills. So economy, for example, lowers the veteran cost of replacement troops, I believe it is. And that's right now where you can see we're at negative 17%. So we've got a 17, or actually, sorry, that's the discount you get on weaponry. So we're at 15% of a discount on weaponry we purchase. Medicine gives you more troops back between battles. Training gives you, a reduced cost in your veteran replacements, which we're down to negative 17%. So they're 17% cheaper. Army organization allows you to have more brigades or larger brigades in your divisions, as well as more divisions per corps. Right now we're at 3. We probably need to work on that because, as you can see here, we've got 2 fully built out corps, and yet we only have about 26,000 men, 12,800 soldiers in the first corps, 13,620 in the second corps. So again, 2 corps is a good strength in terms of the number of corps at this point in the game, but a little bit undersized, which is actually fitting for Union corps, because typically during the Civil War, the Confederates had very large and strong corps. That's partially because Robert E. Lee, when he had Jackson and Longstreet in 1862 and 63, rather than really think about his army in a corps sense, we talk about him as the first and the second corps, and they were organized in that way, but they were almost used as wings of the army, where Lee gave Longstreet and Jackson each about half of his army and gave them a lot of discretion to operate as they saw fit, and it was really kind of more in this wing concept rather than the corps concept, and then it became very much a corps concept once Jackson was killed, and it became Longstreet and Hill and Ewell, at least initially, of Gettysburg fame. With that being said, we're in the middle of the Peninsula Campaign in 1862. Again, so far we've known only success, and I've just spent some of our prestige and reputation to get a little bit of extra money so we could build the second corps out. We had a very strong first corps. If we go through here, we can see the Springfields, the Iron Brigade, the Irish Brigade, all very well armed, all armed with rifles, all very well experienced. If you look at these units down here on the left, you can see they're very, very good units with 100% morale or 94% morale, and all around at least 50 plus in terms of all of these different traits. The artillery a little bit less so. The 2nd Division is a little bit less experienced. You can see those first 2 are kind of closer to the Irish Brigade over here, but they're certainly still in reasonable shape. But they're not quite as solid. And the weapons that they have are likewise very strong, all rifles as well for these guys. The 3rd Division is also very strong, although not as strong. So you can see, again, there's a slightly decreased quality. This is a newer division, less experienced. The 1st Brigade has rifles, the 2nd Brigade does not, and then it's kind of split out with a cavalry brigade and some Napoleons. All of our 1st Corps has better than stock artillery, so we've got some ordnance rifles, howitzers, and Napoleons, but we've upgraded away from the 6-pound field guns. The 2nd Corps is much less experienced. You can see these guys are green as all get out. Their command bonuses are pretty solid, but everything else is very low. And that goes for all of these units. These are all brand new recruits. We really haven't used the 2nd Corps in battle thus far. This is going to be kind of our first battle, I think, with the 2nd Corps. We might have used it briefly at Shiloh, but it was not fully built out. It might have just been a division. So this is going to be a first go with the 2nd Corps. Again, these guys almost all have, green rifles. They're all using the 1842 Springfield, which again is inferior weapon. We've got one unit, Lynch's Brigade here, that has some Springfield rifles. They do have decent artillery. You know, they've got split between Napoleons and ordnance rifles, so no one is using kind of that entry-level artillery piece, the 6-pound field gun, which we just replaced, although we have 16 in reserve if we needed to swap some units out in between battles. We do have about $10,000 we'll be carrying over into Gainesville, so we'll really want to try and win this battle to get this big bonus. When you win, you get a huge chunk of cash as well as recruits and reputation. Draw is kind of you push, and then defeat obviously is a huge hit in reputation. We're at 38, which is solid. You start at, I want to say, either 20 or 30. But we were at 50 plus. We cashed some of that reputation in so we can actually buy some stuff. And we could buy more. You know, we could buy some Harper's Ferry's rifles, some Springfield rifles. We could get, you know, 2 more brigades outfitted with high quality weapons, but I don't want to do that right now because I don't want to mortgage our entire reputation, because again, if we were to spend 18, we could get down to 20, right? But then if we lost this battle, we'd be fired. If your reputation goes into the negative, you get fired. So it is what it is. Additionally, one other piece that's new is when you click on report, you get kind of captured messages from the enemy. So basically you get a message from a general saying, hey, you know, if I get more reinforcements, I can beat the enemy back. And then you get a follow-up message that says, after the Battle of Seven Pines, which we just fought, you will not be getting any reinforcements, which basically is just telling you that because of your success earlier in the Peninsula Campaign, which starts out with a series of kind of quasi-historical battles, then you actually influence the enemy army coming into the Battle of Gainesville. With that long-winded introduction, let's go ahead and get fighting. Okay, so we go into Gainesville. You can see our army is participating in General McClellan's invasion of the Virginia Peninsula. This was a historical campaign that took place in 1862, where McClellan decided rather than attack through Manassas again and through very heavily entrenched and dug-in Confederate troops, he was going to swing around their flank, get in behind them, and race to Richmond before they could respond. Well, McClellan, being the general that he was, did not race anywhere. He was very slow about it, but he did push to the gates of Richmond nonetheless over an extended month-plus long campaign, and that campaign in some ways culminated in the Battle of Gainesville. Gainesville was the second, or actually third day in the 7 days battles where Lee launched a series of counterattacks against the Union Army, which was only a few miles in front of Richmond. Gainesville was an attack on the Union flank in an attempt to destroy an exposed core of the Union Army. It was under Fitz John Porter, in which Lee was, again, attempting to isolate and destroy a portion of the Union Army so then he could isolate and destroy the remainder of the Union Army. It was the strongest Confederate army that would be gathered for the entire war during this campaign. They had over 80,000 men, and they would lose drastic numbers of men in this campaign, driving the Union back, although really only winning one tactical victory, and that was at Gainesville, where a series of frontal attacks failed before a flank attack ended up uncovering the Federal position. So we do have to begin to withdraw to the south, as was the case. At this point, the Union was pulling back to kind of refuse their flank. And the Battle of Gainesville takes place with the Confederates launching initially a frontal attack and perhaps a flank attack. So you've got 2 corps that you can call in, which is great because our army has 2 corps. So we'll put the first corps. These are the guys that are going to be on the field right away. And this looks like we only have 12 brigades in this particular corps. So, you know, we could have up to 20. We only have 12 on the field. We've got the second corps, which will be coming up as reinforcements later in the day. And this is a little bit oversized. You can only have 10 brigades as reinforcements. But unfortunately, the first corps is as big as we can make it. We can't make a corps with more than 12 brigades. So we'll just have to suffer the fact that 2 of these brigades won't end up deploying to the field. With that being said here, we're going to go ahead and jump into the fight. And if you do hear some kind of rumbling in the background, we are in the midst of a storm here, so I apologize if that's distracting or if it kind of ruins the quality of the audio. You can see here, by the way, enemy army is estimated to have 42,000 men, that's an estimate, and 128 guns. We're about 30 guns less and about 13,000 men less, so we probably aren't outnumbered, but we will have breastworks and defensive works, at least for the initial parts of the battle, so that should help us. So you can see here, sir, our forces are executing a tactical withdrawal to prepare for Lee's attack on our right flank. Okay. And you can see here we've got some breastworks set up here. Our objective is to hold the line along the Boswan Creek and protect the main Union Army deployed a few miles south. Rebels are currently marching toward our location and preparing for a major assault. So the first corps that we have on the field is a really high-quality corps. I'm hoping I can bleed the enemy enough so that by the time these reinforcements come from the northeast and try and flank us, we'll be able to shift more of our attention to deal with them. But we'll see. Okay, hold our position, blah, blah, blah. Reinforcements are on the way, blah, blah, blah. General, the rebels are pursuing us and are coming down this road back toward Gainesville. We must buy time. Oh, goodness. So it looks like our army is very much forward deployed. Okay, so we've got cavalry, which is actually ideal for delaying the enemy, which we're going to use them for. Our cavalry is also equipped with Spencers, I believe. So they should be ideally placed for, rapid firing kind of withdrawal. Go ahead and pull our artillery back. I don't think there's any defensive works where we can put our artillery, but we'll go ahead and put it kind of over here. Let's see here. Devils, the Bison Brigade. I'm really looking for kind of our best troops. These guys, the Springfields, the Iron Brigade, and the Irish Brigade. These are our 3 best brigades. We're going to deploy 1 on the flank. Deploy 1 in these woods. And I think the Springfields... We're going to split some... Actually, we're going to split some skirmishers off from some of these guys. These all have good weapons, so we're going to go ahead and split some skirmishers here off of these units. Springfields will kind of hold back here. These skirmishers are going to go ahead and deploy in these woods, again, mainly to just delay the enemy as much as possible. The more time we can buy, the better, and I'm going to pull them off of the units that are not quite our elite. So I'm going to pull 3 skirmish units, not from our 3 best brigades, but from our other 3 brigades up front to kind of buy some time. So we've kind of set our troops up for the initial deployments. I'm going to pull my general back so I don't get myself killed, and we'll go ahead and play. Keep our supply kind of in the rear, and we'll bring our cavalry up as well to harass the enemy. In addition to that, to McCook, I'm going to go ahead and pull 200 of McCook's men back to this observation point, this little eyeball, which gives you a better view of the surrounding territory. Okay, so we've secured the woods. I'm actually going to break some skirmishers off from the Springfields. These are our best brigade. This is your best brigade. If you remember Sid Meier's Gettysburg, General, this is your best brigade. All those lovely little helpful pointers and tips. All right, Ambrose P. Hill's forces are sighted, General. I'm going to deploy you guys up here. We're keeping them in the woods because they get really good cover. I don't know if these guys get good cover over here or not. Trying to see, otherwise I'll pull Wharton's guys back. You can see both the Springfields and the Red Devils are at 100% cover. The Bison Brigade is at 100% cover as well. So we'll go ahead and halt them here. Yeah, these guys don't have very good cover. The enemy is deploying skirmishers in front. Let's go ahead and pull Wharton's men back. There's our cavalry. Our cavalry's coming up. So if the enemy skirmishers do get too over-aggressive, then we can always hit them with the cavalry. Skirmishers are highly vulnerable to cavalry. And we'll just kind of, again, the whole goal here is to delay the enemy. Delay them as long as possible. And these guys, I'm sure, will all end up dying. That's not really the point. Alright, so you can see here the fight is ongoing. Not sure if there's any audio here. I'm going to pause real quick. Alright, we should be fixed there. We should have some audio. I don't know why. Game's kind of being weird with my streaming setup and everything. Alright, so skirmishers are closing in. We've got our own skirmishers here engaging these enemy brigades. ideally doing better than they're suffering, and so far they are. So Wharton's skirmishers are deployed in a strong position here. Go ahead and hit them with the cavalry, then pull back out before they can respond. You can see here our cavalry did a little bit of damage. Again, just about buying time. That's really the end game here, is to just buy some time. And that's what we're doing, hopefully. The Spencers do have a good reload rate. You can see they're just hit them back a bit. Getting pulled out of range. So again, they're doing their job. They're bleeding Greg a little bit here. Anderson's getting bled a bit. Really the only skirmishers that are struggling are the ones here down on the south, and they're still giving about as good as they're getting, but not really what I had hoped, as they're kind of pulling back here. But you can see we've held up actually three enemy brigades. About 6,000 Confederates are being delayed. The rest of our troops are pulling back into position. Alright, this artillery needs to deploy over here, kind of between these brigades. There's a little bit of a gap there. There's a pretty good clap of thunder there. Alright, so cavalry over here is now in, I hope, better position than that. Alright, so they're in these buildings now. Skirmishing and firing into Greg's flank, I think. Doesn't look like it. They are. And Warrington is also firing at the enemy. Red Devils and the Springfields have both given the enemy a good deal of a drubbing. It's time to pull back. Both losing quite a few men. Over 100 men of the Springfields are dead. Only 37 of the Red Devils. We'll pull them back a bit, as the Red Devils now get routed, just as I say that. Okay, so the rebels continue to attack, so we've held them off without them getting to our main line yet, through the first cutscene, if you will. More rebel reinforcements are arriving. About 2.5 hours left, I believe. I'm not sure if it's in the fight total, or if it's till the enemy reinforcements arrive. But trying to get my skirmishers out of there. I am deploying the Springfields to try and, again, buy some time. I don't really want to sacrifice my best brigade necessarily in that way, but we'll see what ends up happening. Now Greg's advancing. He's advancing quickly on Wharton. Firing into Wharton's rear as he runs. And then again, he's getting hit kind of from two sides. Ooh, don't stand up to them in the open like that. That's a bad idea. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and send the Springfield guys back. Dealing with these enemy skirmishers. Wharton's casualties are rapidly increasing, but look at that. We drove Greg back with our... mainly our cavalry there. They've inflicted over 200 casualties, losing just 40. Get these guys back in their buildings. They had really good cover, but they lost some of it. So again, kind of keeping Latner's boys up on the... oh, flanked from where? Where'd they get flanked from? Doesn't look like they're flanked. Okay, so Greg's brigade hasn't been shattered or anything, not even close, but they are being pushed back. Looks like we held back these enemy skirmishers here, pushing them back through the woods. Red Devils have pretty good cover. Again, here you can see we've further delayed the attack up north. Let me get these guys on this hill. I don't know why we don't have this hill. Got troops all around it. Get these guys into some more cover. You can see here 2 full brigades, Penders and Andersons, coming down. Kind of bring Wharton up. Gregg's moving a little bit further south, so we'll bring the... He's moving... They're kind of shifting the angle or emphasis of their attack a bit. There we go. We've moved those troops back. We've secured that second hill. Now we're kind of... We've got the enemy... We've got brigades firing into 3 sides. Oh, wow. So apparently an enemy brigade came up to my ignorance and is now attacking our main line behind these breastworks. Which should be okay, right? We've got troops there. Meanwhile, we're kind of harassing Anderson. You can see they're just firing into his flank with that cavalry. Is at least delayed and pushed Anderson back. So we're kind of rolling up the enemy line here a little bit. How are the Red Devils doing? Move these guys down here to support. I don't think it's easy for them to cross anywhere here, but Ewell's division is moving to the attack, so the enemy is bringing up another division. But thus far, our delaying action has worked quite well in my view. We'll pull Wharton's guys back. Looks like Seymour's brigade is coming up. We'll kind of move Latner's cavalry. The cavalry's been very effective. Springfield brigade as well. It's giving 2 to 1. Do a little bit better. But 2 to 1 will do based on the odds that we think exist in this engagement. It does look like they're kind of ignoring our delaying force here in the north and shifting a little bit further south. Devils, Wharton. Alright. Doing okay there, I think. We're going to go ahead and deploy the Irish Brigade here to face north to kind of refuse our flank. We've got the Iron Brigade over here. It's kind of in reserve of these breastworks. It's not in either of these positions. We'll actually move them into this house as kind of more central reserve. Our artillery is not perfectly placed, but it's really designed to prevent any kind of gap in our line from being exposed, although I think maybe we move these guys back here, because right now they're just not being used. We can always shift them north if the main prong of the attack changes. We'll go ahead and move 2 of our batteries on top of this hill. The enemy does have multiple brigades in line now, of attacking toward our Wharton skirmishers just got driven back. Kind of attacking toward our central position. But again, we're still tying up almost 10,000 men here with just a handful of men. 700 cavalry and about 1,500 infantry tying up about 10,000 enemy troops. And these Springfields are doing wonders. You know, better than 2 to 1, almost 3 to 1 inflicted casualties here. And again, the cavalry on the enemy flank with their they're not repeaters, but they're breech-loading carbines doing an effective job. Almost 10 to 1 casualties being inflicted by them. See, they just got 3 quick volleys off on Trimble. Okay. The Wharton's doing a good job against Field. Red Devils are not doing as well, so we'll bring the Iron Brigade over to support. Looks like that's where the main threat is right now. These Springfields are starting to lose a bit. Bring Seymour down, bring these skirmishers down. Doesn't seem like they're trying to cross up near this dam. And again, firing into Seymour's flank is at least causing his morale to dip enough. Again, keeping these guys mounted, there's a purpose there. Alright. Seymour is just getting ravaged, which is great. Oh shit. He just drove the Red Devils out of their position. Alright, Iron Brigade. Alright, so he's pushed back. Let's double quick you guys into these earthworks. The earthworks sometimes don't seem... Sometimes just sitting in the woods has you better off than the earthworks do. Anyway, we brought the artillery down to hopefully help. And we're putting one of our best brigades into these earthworks to try and hold the line here. Stem the tide. We'll bring the Red Devils back up in a moment. See here, our cavalry still doing strong. The Springfield Brigade is continuing to do strong. We'll kind of move these guys toward Greg's flank. He's already been pushed back, so one would assume his morale isn't perfect either. And again, as much as we can use this cavalry to keep firing into these guys' flanks, eventually we're going to start running low on ammo. You can see this cavalry is starting to run low. Skirmishers are all running a little bit low. I wish if they didn't turn to face me, though, these guys didn't just auto-retreat. There you go, you can see the skirmishers getting the ammo warning. Again, we've got multiple skirmishers in line against Greg. Ammo is starting to become a concern. Orton is pulling back too. How's our artillery up on this hill doing? Helping a little bit. Orton's being driven back, damn it. Alright. I'm doing exactly what the enemy wants, by the way. I'm pulling my reserves from the north to come to the south. Which, again, thank God Iron Brigade is doing such, or the Springfields are doing such an effective job of tying these troops up. Because we'd be in some trouble if they weren't. Okay, they're all starting to run low, but no one's out yet. Let's see, Iron Brigade's in a melee, that's fine. Red Devils, we'll go ahead and put these behind. The interesting thing is if you've got troops, at least in the past, and I'm not sure if this is the current version of the game or not, but if you get troops in behind an earthwork, like I've got the Red Devils kind of coming up and Wharton, they'll actually fire over the top of your troops, so you can keep shooting at the enemy while they're, you know, only able to bring a certain amount of firepower against you. You kind of have this force multiplier effect. Whoa, where are these guys going? I don't want Latimer to just charge up there on his own. Well, maybe we go hit this enemy enemy artillery. Looks like they've got a couple of batteries back here. And hopefully they can race out of range before any kind of canister fire would occur. Although now that I'm moving them back down here again, maybe not. Guess we'll see. Trying to gauge how much a volley will take out of them. They're in the open. They're on horses. Gigantic targets. Alright. So Wharton, Iron Brigade, oh shit. The Red Devils back, the Iron Brigade's pulling out. I need to get my general down here. You get a morale bonus if your general is around. So, let's do that. The 40 minutes must be before the flank attack starts. Which we really need some of these reserves to come up. We're going to resist this flank attack. Erasmus Keyes is killed on the field. Great. He's one of our division commanders, I think. Oh, wow. Oh. Alright, let's pull the cavalry back out. They're losing. They've lost double the casualties they'd lost this entire point with going up against these enemy guns. We'll go ahead and pull them out. Deal with the enemy infantry. Alright, so George B. Gamer is now down here giving us a little bit of a morale boost. Erasmus Keyes was commanding the Red Devils Brigade, it looks like. They're not doing very well. Shift these Iron Brigade boys up a little bit. Continuing to hold on, but we really could use those reinforcements, which are supposed to be on the way. Whoa! Why are you guys racing in like that? I didn't tell you to do that, did I? Alright everybody, I'm going to jump in here and we're going to end this video here. We're about halfway through the Battle of Gainesville. So far we've done a decent job in delaying the enemy on sort of the northern half of the front. They're starting to launch a pretty heavy assault here in the southern half of the front, but so far we're in pretty decent shape and you know, hopefully we'll be able to hang on. But the rest of the battle and things as they get really intense will be in the next part of this series. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to do a historical discussion on the Battle of Gainesville in the next video or if we'll just kind of keep with my initial recording. This wasn't a stream, I just kind of recorded it off the cuff. But I like mixing things up between history and just regular kind of gameplay discussion. Let me know your thoughts below, guys, and until next time, this is the Historical Gamer saying thank you for watching, and I'm out.